I hear it before I see her. Two women by the coat check whispering behind a menu, one of them leaning in close enough that her lipstick nearly touches her friend's ear. That's Sabrina, right? Barrett's wife. A pause, glasses clinking somewhere behind him. I heard she's been leaving the office late with someone from her floor. I don't turn around. I don't need to. My hand is already flat against the linen tablecloth, and I'm counting the threads instead of the words, because if I look up too fast, I'll do something I can't take back on our anniversary. 6 years married tonight. 6 years of knowing exactly what she smells like. Lavender, sweet almond oil, that hint of clean cotton from the dryer sheets she refuses to switch brands on. I know it the way I know my own hands. It's not a hobby for me, it's my entire career. I'm a fragrance chemist. I spend my days pulling apart scent molecules the way other men take apart engines. So when Sabrina slides into the booth across from me tonight, smelling like something entirely wrong, my whole body goes still before my brain even catches up. The restaurant sits on the edge of downtown Tulsa, all exposed brick and low gold lighting, the kind of place that smells like seared butter and candle wax. Sabrina's already nervous when she sits down. I watch her hands go to the clasp of her coat, fumbling it twice before she gets it undone. Sorry I'm late. Traffic on Riverside was... She stops herself. Exhales. It doesn't matter. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. I lean across the table to kiss her cheek, and that's when it hits me. Not lavender, not almond oil, something dark and resinous, heavy on amber, with a synthetic musk base I could probably name in my sleep. Cedar, maybe a touch of black pepper top note. Masculine, deliberately so. I don't say anything. Not yet. We order wine. She orders faster than usual, doesn't ask what I'm having, just tells the waiter the same as him without looking up from the menu. Her knee bounces under the table. I feel it against mine, a small tremor she probably doesn't even notice she's doing. You're quiet tonight. I'm just tired. I'm running a mental GCMS analysis on my own wife, breaking her scent into its component chemicals like she's a sample on my lab bench instead of the woman I married. New client wants us to reverse engineer a discontinued fragrance, some 90s drugstore thing. Half the aroma chemicals aren't even manufactured anymore. That sounds hard, she says, too quickly, grateful for the subject change. I let her have it. For now. Dinner comes. Steak for me, salmon for her, though she barely touches it. I watch her cut the same piece into smaller and smaller sections without actually eating any of it, and somewhere between the second glass of wine and the breadbasket, I finally ask, "New perfume?" Her fork stops midair. What? You smell different. I keep my voice level, the same voice I use when I'm walking a junior chemist through a failed batch. Calm, clinical, not accusing yet. Not your usual, something with a cedar top note, amber base, pretty heavy silage for a Tuesday. Oh, she sets the fork down, picks it back up, sets it down again. It's, someone at the office was testing samples for a gift for his wife, I think. Some of it probably rubbed off. You know how it is. Everyone crowds around the desk to smell things. Whose office? Does it matter? It matters to me that you can't just say a name. She looks past me instead of at me, out toward the window where the streetlights are starting to flicker on along Boston Avenue. Delacroix, from accounts. He was picking something out for his anniversary, too. Weird coincidence, huh? A laugh that doesn't reach her eyes. Small world. I don't answer right away. I'm thinking about headspace technology, the way a good chemist can capture the exact scent profile of a room, a person, a moment in time, and hold on to it long after everyone's left. I'm thinking about how amber base notes cling to skin for hours, not minutes, not the 30 seconds it takes to lean over someone's desk. Here is where I want to pause the story and ask you something, because I think it matters more than anything that happens after. Have you ever caught a detail so small, a scent, a receipt, a missed call, that you knew instantly before any confirmation came? Pin your answer below. Agree if you'd have said something right there at the table. Disagree if you'd have waited until you got home. Because Barrett doesn't wait. That's not who he is. You know what I do for a living, I say, and my voice doesn't rise, doesn't crack, stays exactly where it's always stayed. Steady, professional, unbothered on the surface. You know what I do for a living. This isn't top notes fading in an hour, Sabrina. This is dry down. This is hours old. I lean back against the booth, and for the first time all night, I let myself actually look at her, really look, the way I'd look at an unlabeled sample, searching for what it's hiding. So I'm going to ask you one more time. And I already know I'm right, so all you're deciding right now is whether you want to be honest with me. Her eyes go glassy. Her hand drops into her coat pocket, the wool one draped over the seat beside her, and I watch her fingers close around something small, round, glass from the shape of it, pressing against the fabric. "Show me your pocket," I say quietly. "Please don't." "Show me." She pulls out a small amber sample vial, no label, the kind of unmarked bottle a company keeps in a locked drawer for internal testing only, not the kind you'd find on any store shelf, and definitely not the kind of thing a coworker accidentally leaves in your coat. I don't raise my voice in the restaurant. I've never been that man, and I'm not about to become him over a piece of glass the size of my thumb. But something in my chest goes very quiet and very cold, the kind of cold that settles into your bones on the worst days of Oklahoma winter, when the wind off the plains cuts through every layer you own. "That's an office sample," I say. "Formulation stage, unlabeled. You don't get those from someone testing a gift at his desk. You get those from someone who works in the fragrance house or someone close enough to the chemist to have access to the vault." I pause, letting the silence stretch. "Delacroix's not a chemist, so who gave it to you?" "He is," she says, so softly I almost miss it. "Was. Before it counts. He transferred over 2 years ago, but he still has a key to the sample room." "How long has this been going on?" "Nothing happened, Barrettn. I swear to you, nothing physical happened." "Then what happened?" She wraps both hands around her wine glass like it's the only solid thing left at the table. "We started talking 6 months ago. Just talking. Then it turned into lunch. Then it turned into me telling him things I hadn't told you in years. Things about feeling invisible in this marriage, feeling like you love your work more than you love coming home some nights." Her voice breaks. "He noticed me, Barrettn. Not my scent profile, not a compound to identify. Me." I sit with that for longer than I want to. "You're saying I made you feel like a sample on a bench?" I finally say. "I'm saying I don't know what I was to you anymore, and he made me feel like—" She stops herself, presses her knuckles to her mouth. "I'm not going to finish that sentence. It's not fair to you." Here's the part where I want you to understand something about me, because it explains everything that happens next. I don't work with feelings for a living. I work with facts you can measure, parts per million, boiling points, the exact molecular weight of betrayal, if you want to call it that, because heartbreak has a chemistry too, even if nobody's ever put it in a peer-reviewed paper. And the fact in front of me tonight isn't really the Cologne. It's not even Delacroix, who I've never met and honestly never want to. The fact is that my wife sat across from me for 6 months, carrying an emotional connection heavier than any accord I've ever formulated, and I didn't smell it coming until it was already dried down into her skin. "I'm not going to pretend this doesn't gut me," I tell her, "but I'd rather know the truth tonight than keep living off assumptions I made up in a lab where things always make sense." I reach across the table. Not for her hand, just close enough that she could take it if she wanted to. She doesn't. Not yet. Did you sleep with him? No. She says it fast, clear, the first fully steady thing she said all night. No, I promise you that. It never crossed that line, but I let it get close enough that I don't blame you for not believing me right now. We don't finish dinner. The waiter comes by twice, and both times I wave him off with a small shake of my head, and he's kind enough not to ask questions. Sabrina cries quietly into a cloth napkin, the good kind this restaurant uses, and I watch mascara bleed into white linen and think, absurdly, that I could probably identify the exact solvent in it if I tried. I don't know what happens now, she finally says, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. I don't expect you to just forgive this, tonight of all nights. I don't think forgiveness is the question yet. I turn the little amber vial over in my fingers one last time before setting it down on the table between us, right next to the votive candle, where it catches the light like something almost pretty. I want it, she whispers. I just don't know if wanting is enough anymore. Then we figure that out. Not tonight. Not at this table. I stand, pull my coat off the back of the booth, and for a moment I just look at her. Really look, the way I first met her, before I ever learned to read her by scent instead of her eyes. But separately, for a while. Different apartments, no decisions made out of guilt or panic, just space to actually be honest the way we should have been 6 months ago. She nods slowly, like the idea terrifies her and steadies her in equal measure. Okay, she says. Okay. I walk her to her car in the parking lot, and the Oklahoma wind is doing what it always does this time of year, cutting sideways, carrying the smell of someone's wood smoke fireplace from 3 blocks over. Before she gets in, she reaches into her coat pocket one more time, pulls that little amber vial, and presses it into my hand instead. You should have this. You're better at figuring out what things actually are than I am. I close my fingers around the glass. It's still faintly warm from her pocket, and underneath the cedar and the amber, I catch something else now, something that was always there, just buried. Her. Still her, somewhere under all of it. We're not over, I say. It's not a question, not quite a promise, somewhere in between. We're just figuring out what we are next. She almost smiles. Is that a professional diagnosis, Dr. Barrettn? Working theory, I say. I'll let you know what the lab results say. She drives off first. I stand in the cold a minute longer than I need to, turning the vial over once more in my palm, watching the taillights shrink down Boston Avenue until they're gone. Some things you can identify down to the last molecule. Some things you just have to sit with until they make sense on their own. If you want to know exactly how far Barrettn and Sabrina's working theory actually goes, that's a story for next time.